Okay, so Legendary Chrom is finally in the game. He came out just a couple of hours ago. So we're gonna go over his skills and I'm gonna talk about some possible skill setups you may want to run on him. We're of course gonna be talking about budget builds and some more expensive builds if you really want to invest in him. So starting up with his base kit, he has his weapon Randgritter. He has to change fate as his assist skill. He comes with close counter. He has lull attack and defense 3, and he has rouse defense and res 3 as well. So a pretty strong starting kit, to be honest. There's really not much I would change on this if you're trying to be budget and not really go too crazy on the inheritance. As far as IVs or boons and banes go, I would say plus attack is easily his best choice. He doesn't have a super boon in attack or defense, which would have made either of those the best choice, I think. He has it in plus speed, but I mean, this guy, his speed is really not that great, so I would definitely go with plus attack. It also stacks a little better with his weapon since he has effective against armor and effective against flying. And the more damage, the higher your attack is, it actually scales a little bit better when you have effective damage. So plus attack for sure is his best choice. And as far as budget builds go, all you would really have to do is give him a special and a sacred seal, since all his starting skills are pretty good right out the gates. I would say Aether is a cheap option that everyone can get pretty easy. All you really have to do is sacrifice the Sword Chrom to this guy, which is pretty easy to get. He's a 4-star and a 3-star. I'm sure a lot of people already have that Chrom in their barracks or as a skill book to feed into this guy. And for the Sacred Seal, you've got a couple of options for budget. I would say Mirror Stance 2 is kind of the one that I'm feeling the most right now. Patch up his low res a little bit so he can fight better against magic type opponents. That includes dragons, since they will hit his res when they attack him. And since he has close counter, it doesn't really matter too much if you give him distant defense. I would honestly argue Mirror Stance might be a little better, because it's going to raise his super high attack even more. And then the res is going to help him in combat against either close or far opponents. So pretty good option. Also, Quick Repost is another good option since he's slow, and it's going to help him be able to get double attacks when he baits opponents. So that's pretty much it for the budget build. Moving on, we have a close counter Vantage build here. This is going to work pretty well, seeing as how his weapon has effective against armor. And pretty much most of the game is armor type. Even a lot of the dragon units in the game are doubling as armored as well. So having effective against armor with Vantage and such sky-high attack is probably going to allow him to one-shot most of the foes that try to initiate on him, as long as you get him into Vantage range. And that shouldn't be too hard for you to pull off. He does have really good relative bulk, so he can easily get into a round of combat, survive, and then maybe have less than half HP. So he can go ahead and use Vantage. You don't even need half. You need, I think it's 75% for Vantage. So it's really not hard at all to get him into Vantage range. And once he's there, he can lay waste to all those armored opponents, all those flying opponents, and a lot of other opponents too, because 62 attack with just one merge and plus attack is completely insane, man. This guy, he's been eating his broccoli for sure. Or what is it, spinach? Popeye eats spinach, right? That's why he's got such big hands as well, this dude. He is a big boy, and big boys need big builds, right? So rounding off this set, we have Rouse Attack and Defense 3, which you can get from Edelgard. It's a little better for a Vantage build, I think, than his default Rouse Defense and Res 3, since the additional attack is just going to help him kill even better on the enemy phase when he has Vantage. We have Ruptured Sky as his special attack. It's pretty easy to get this guy to full special charge right at the start of a fight, since he is infantry and all those good skills like Infantry Pulse can work on him. Really nice stuff there. And finally, in the seal slot, we have Fierce Stance 3. which you could still use Mirror Stance 2 on this technically, but we're trying to edge out as much attack as we can from him. So Fierce Stance 3 is going to be pretty good, and it's also going to help him deal even more damage with Vantage. Alright, so moving on to the next build, we have a bulky player phase build here. In the A slot, we're opting for Sturdy Impact since it grants a lot of defense and attack, and then it prevents the foes from getting a double attack, which is nice since his speed is not that good. So if he attacks a foe, he only has to worry about getting hit once, which is going to up his survival pretty well. We have Special Spiral 3 to have him automatically charge up Ruptured Sky very quickly, and that's really good. It's only a 2-hit, so he's basically going to have that at the start of combat every single time, and it's going to raise his chance to one-shot foes like out the window, so a very good option there. We have Rouse Attack and Defense 3 again. I think it's his best option personally. There are of course other options you could go with, like Attack Wave or Joint Hone Attack, or really whatever you feel. The C slot has always been open for whatever you need. And we have Sturdy Blow 2 on this build as well in the Seal slot. It's just going to make Sturdy Impact even stronger. Now, optionally, you could use Death Blow 4, because we are just trying to get the highest attack possible out of this guy. And even though Sturdy Impact does all sorts of other things, that 2 extra attack you get from Death Blow 4 might just be the difference maker from a 1-shot to a 2-shot. And this guy is trying to 1-shot with this build. So DB4, always an option, keep it in mind. And my final build for the day is going to be a Brash Desperation build. I use this build all the time on Blue Micaiah, and it works really well on her because she has Sacrifice and she can just cheat herself into Desperation and Brash Assault range. Chrom can't really do that because he doesn't have Sacrifice, but he does have really good bulk, so it's not too hard for him to survive a round of combat and then be around 50% HP so he can start getting the build going. And once this build gets going, it's really hard to stop this guy. He's going to be hitting twice when he initiates. I've got Heavy Blade 4 on him, which adds a flat 5 damage, and it also ramps up his special. So he's going to hit once, it's going to do 5 extra damage, it's going to bring Ruptured Sky down to 0 cooldown, and then Brash Assault and Desperation are going to kick in. He's going to get that second attack, it's going to be his special attack, and it's just going to destroy everything in his path, man. This guy, he is really strong for an infantry class unit. It's insane how high his attack is. And yet again, we have Rouse Attack and Defense 3 just to round off the build, give him some easy attack for free at the start of the turn. And that's pretty much going to wrap up my builds for this guy. He's a really awesome unit, actually. He does have a lot of attack. And being an infantry class, of course, makes him all the better. He doesn't have to worry about one range movement as he would if he was an armored unit. That would have given him access to other broken skills, though, like Daring Fighter and Bold Fighter and such. But he doesn't really need it. I think the infantry skills actually help him out a lot, too, such as Lull Attack and Defense and Special Spiral. Actually, Special Spiral is on Armored also, but I mean, you get the point, right? So yeah, that's it for Chrom. He's really cool. If you guys want to summon for him, then I would recommend it if he is your favorite character. If you're trying to play like towards the meta, then he definitely seems like a meta unit, but it's really up to you. In terms of scoring, he's really not going to score that much higher than a unit like, say, Legendary Roy, and that's because this guy, even though he does have the boosted pair-up BST, the problem with him is that he doesn't have any unique passive skills. He does have to change fate, but that's an assist, and it's easy to get a double rally plus skill on somebody. So the fact that he doesn't have a unique in the passive skills kind of hurts his scoring a bit, but he's going to be pretty cool in Aether Raids for sure. To change fate is going to be really nice in that mode for getting your units into position. As you know, in Aether Raids, it is kind of hard to get into range sometimes without triggering a trap or something. So this guy is definitely going to help with that. And that's all for today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again real soon.